Howdy, folks. All right, so it's going to be story time today. I had mentioned on another video the other day how much I trust Shakespeare and Cutter, the two lead horses of this herd. That's Cutter right there, line back done, not to be confused with a buckskin. And this is Shakespeare. He is my horse. I have 3 horses, and he is the oldest of my 3. And Cutter is not my horse, but he is, I've known Cutter just as long as I've known Shakespeare almost, and he is definitely one of my best friends. But anyway, I did share the other day that I trust Shakespeare and Cutter both with my life, and I explained that, Shakespeare has actually saved my life on a couple of occasions, and I had a question. Somebody said, well, can you please share that story? Well, there's more than one story, and I have shared these on other videos, but I will do it again as a specific answer to that specific question. Okay, so one of the times that I know that Shakespeare definitely saved me was we were together, and we were at this very farm, and I was walking back out through these woods. I was heading down towards the woods, and there's a path that leads back through there, and we had lost a fly mask. A fly mask is just something that you put on the horse's face when it is summertime to keep the flies off their face. So basically, somebody had lost a mask, and I thought perhaps it was out in the woods because I had searched all the pastures. I couldn't find it. And sometimes they rub up against the trees out there and they pull the mask off. So I was heading out to that wood line out there, and I was by myself. Shakespeare was not with me. None of the other horses were with me. So I started walking out there, and next thing I know, I heard these galloping hooves behind me, and I turned around, and it was him. And I thought it was a little odd because they were out here eating grass, and it was very strange for him to leave all this grass and come out to, all the way out to that tree line out there. But anyway, he comes galloping up behind me, and then he ran past me, and he stopped in front of me. And instead of stopping like this in front of me, he stopped this way, okay? So he was not parallel, he was perpendicular, like that way, and he blocked the path. So he put his body in front of the path like that. So, and then he kept looking at me and like throwing his head, like tossing his head to me and pinning his ears. And the pin ears in a horse means that they're telling you to move your feet, and when he was throwing his head like that, he was basically telling me to move my feet, but he was throwing them back toward this direction, away from the path. And so I stopped, and I was like, what are you doing? Stop, move out of the way, because I was intent on heading back down and heading into the woods. Well, he would not move his feet. He just kept standing there like that, and pinning his ears at me and throwing his head at me. And then he actually turned toward me and came at me a little bit with his ears pinned, and that's a pushing. He was definitely trying to he wasn't trying to bite me or anything, but he was trying to kind of push me off. And I was like, Shakespeare, what are you doing? Get out of my way, and I kept trying to get around him. Well, every time I tried to get around him, he would block me and he would pin his ears at me. And so finally I just stopped, and I thought, well, this is very, 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 very unusual behavior for him. So I stopped what I was doing, and then I paid attention to what he was actually asking of me because it was so out of character for him. And I thought, well, I really better see what this is about. And so I kind of stopped, and I took a few steps back, and then his ears came up, and he stopped pinning them at me. And then lo and behold, I heard some noise ahead of us, and probably, I'd say from here to that tree right there, down that same path, if I had continued walking, there was a black bear. A big black bear, and he crossed the path right in front of us. And, I would, had I kept walking, I would have walked right into that bear. Now, would the bear have run away? Probably, but it could have been a mama. She could have had cubs. I don't know. But I'll tell you who did know. He knew, because he came flying from all the way over here and cut me off way, 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 way over there in those woods. So that was one instance. Yeah, you know I'm talking about you, don't you? I know you do. You know, I know my boy. He knows I'm talking about him. Look at you. You're filthy today. But so that was one instance. Thank you, my boy. I love you too. That was one instance where he saved me. Another instance was we were actually out in that pasture out there, kind of where that yellow house is, but down in that pasture, and all the horses were out there, and I went out there and I was walking back toward the barn right there, or the arena, and for some reason, I don't know why, but we had another horse here named Sasha, and so it was me, and then it was Sasha right behind me, and then it was, no, I'm sorry. It was me, it was Wyatt right behind me, and then it was True right behind him, and then it was Sasha right behind her, okay? And Shakespeare was kind of like off to my right, about 50 feet off to my right, but the other three were in a single file line right behind me. Well, Sasha was a very dominant mare, and I think that Sasha thought that I was going to open another gate or something. I don't know what got into her, but it was just like we were lined up in a line of four. So it was, you know, me, Wyatt, True, Sasha, and then Shakespeare was off to the right. He was by the fence up there where the tree line is. Well, I'm just walking along. So Sasha got it in her head to push True, because True was a whole lot younger then. And she pinned her ears at True. Well, True started to trot forward. And of course, who was in front of her but Wyatt? So Wyatt freaks out and he starts to run full speed ahead at me, because I was, 10 feet in front of him, and nobody had a lead rope or anything on. So I walk, I hear them coming, but I couldn't quite move fast enough because horses are very fast. So Wyatt plows right into my back. Okay. He hits me dead on with his chest, hits me in the back. I go flying into the air. I mean, I was airborne. I mean, I went flying into the air, and at the trajectory that he had hit me, I was like tumbling forward. So I hit the ground. I rolled in kind of like a somersault roll, and I hit my head. So I guess, I don't know if I hit my head on a rock or what happened. But anyway, I'm laying, I kind of like rolled a few feet in front of him, and then True was right behind him and Sasha was right behind him. So they're coming right at me and I'm on the ground, okay? And I hear all these hooves just coming at me. And I really, really remember thinking, they're going to trample me. I mean, that was all I could think, was 3 horses are running. Wyatt is panicking. I don't know how much True was panicking because she was being chased by Sasha. And I just thought, they're gonna crush me. So I'm laying on the ground. I was face up, but I was dizzy. I was really, really, really dizzy. Like I knew what was happening, but I couldn't think. Like my brain was a little bit rattled because I had hit my head and I had rolled so hard that I couldn't sit up fast enough. Well, next thing I know, I hear this boom, 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 come flying from across the field. He came running over and he darted in front of Wyatt, and he pinned his ears at Wyatt and he turned Wyatt the opposite direction. And then True and Sasha followed suit, and they all just kind of went in this arc, like around, and Shakespeare stood in front of me, like over top me. It would have been like, I was laying here and Shakespeare blocked them and he pinned his ears at them, and I'm on the ground. So he put his body in between me and those 3 horses coming at me. And then I kind of like, and then he waited there with me. He wouldn't let anybody near me because Wyatt stopped running and he turned around to come and check on me. Well, when he turned around to come check on me, I'm in the middle here. I'm laying here, Shakespeare's here, and Wyatt came from this side to come check on me. Well, Shakespeare came around and he dove at Wyatt with his ears pinned because I was still on the ground and I was very, very dizzy and I wasn't ready to stand up yet. So he dove at Wyatt and he wouldn't let Wyatt near me, even though Wyatt was kind of like apologizing at that point in time, because Wyatt didn't mean to knock me over. He was just scared, And so, but Shakespeare waited there with me until I was able to get up. And so I was still so dizzy that I reached up and I grabbed his mane he put his head down to me, and I wrapped my arm around his head, and then I pulled myself up, and then he stayed with me the whole time I went in to get back to the barn. And then, I mean, I was fine. Like, I had a knot on my head, but I didn't have a concussion or anything. I was fine once I got up and got moving. So that was another instance which I firmly believe that Shakespeare saved me. Maybe not from death, but certainly I could have been trampled. They could have crushed my rib cage. I mean, who knows what could have potentially happened. So I was very, very, very grateful for him in that instance. And in another instance, I was way out in that field over there where you can see Cash is standing, way, way, way out there. And we had a new horse in the pasture. I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know she was in the pasture. And it turned out it was True's mother before she was born. And she was a huge, huge mare. I mean, she looked like a tank. Well, I walked out into that pasture to go get, one of my horses. I don't remember. But that mare came flying at me with her ears pinned. Just ready to kill me because she didn't know who I was, and mares can be extremely protective of their herd. So I didn't know we had a new horse out there. She comes flying at me. I'm standing in the middle of the pasture. She's barreling at me with her ears pinned and ready to kill me. And I didn't have a halter. I didn't have a flag. I didn't have a lead rope. I mean, I had nothing to kind of ward her off with except myself. You can't run. I mean, you cannot run from a horse. You forget about it. So anyway, I was standing there and I was getting ready to like really bring up my energy and be like, rah, to kind of scare her off. And next thing I know, once again, I hear these hooves. He comes flying in from my right. He dives in front of me just as that mare was getting to me. He put himself in front of me. He pinned his ears at her. And then our other lead horse, who's not with us anymore, he has passed away, but his name was Baron. Baron came flying in from the other side, and Shakespeare stood guard over me, and then Baron took off after that mare. He dove at her. He was biting. He was like attacking her because she was coming after me. And he dove at her with his teeth flashing, and she turned around and started running, all the way down. And Baron chased her all the way down that farm. I mean, he was furious with her. And he basically was letting her know, do not, attack her. She's part of the herd. And Shakespeare stayed with me the entire time. And, he never left my side. And then Baron took care of the mare. But after that mare never bothered me. She was never mean to me another day in her life, but in her mind, she was protecting her herd. I was a stranger, and she didn't want me out there. So, and that was True's mother. So yeah, when I say that Shakespeare has saved me, it has been, several times now, and he's always there. He's always got my back. And I'll tell you what, if I were ever in a situation, and I have been before, because I've taken him to different clinics, I've taken him to different farms, and sometimes there's horses that are kind of aggressive, and they'll come at me, or there's a squabble between other horses, and what I do is I will always, always stand behind him, because I know they are not going to get through him. He's not going to allow it. They're not going to get past him, and he's going to protect me just as much as I would protect him. And he's very, very, very good at it. He's my right-hand man. And I would do the same thing with Cutter. I would, if I got into a bind and Cutter was the closest horse and Shakespeare wasn't around, I would stand next to Cutter because he's the lead horse. He's strong, and I know he's got my back. So those are the instances in which, I know for a fact that Shakespeare has has saved me. And, I hope that y'all enjoyed. So, all right, take care.